Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we'll be talking about the hidden cost of box truck ownership. Some people may be looking at, you want to get into a box truck because you think it may be a little bit cheaper, you may save some money, and that's not always the case. It still has high costs, just like running or operating any other commercial vehicle. With the box truck, sometimes you can get into those depending on how much weight you're going to be carrying. You can get into it without a CDL, so that may look good to you, right? You may say, well, hey, if I can get into that truck without having a CDL, hey, that'll save me a lot of money. But that's really not the case because you still will have to have the vehicle registered. You're still going to have, high insurance, commercial insurance, all that good stuff that you would still have if you're driving a CDL vehicle. Now, also, just like your other CDL vehicles, the box truck, they are diesel. Most of them are diesel. So you will still have that high maintenance. So if anything breaks on those trucks, then you're going to have a repair, just as the same as you would your semi or your dually if you're running, a hot shot. There are some common box truck issues. Like a lot of box trucks have transmission issues. A lot of your diesels, your international trucks, they have transmission issues. I know a company, they have some that they're using. And on one of the trucks, they had to replace the transmission over 3 times in that truck. As a few times is from the transmission itself, another from the maintenance on the vehicle. When they replaced one of the previous transmission, they had a line that was pinched, so you can imagine having to replace the transmission over 3 times in the truck. Luckily, most of it was under warranty, so that was a good thing. And that way they didn't have to come out of pocket. But if that's the only truck you're running, or if you only have a few trucks you're running and you have to keep getting the truck fixed, the more downtime, the less money you're making. Because we have to be honest, these trucks need to be on the road rolling to keep the income going. And when it's not rolling, guess what? You're losing money. Because if you're not making money, you're losing it because you have a note to pay, you got insurance to pay, you got other costs, operating costs to pay. So you have to keep these trucks running. So that's something to keep in mind. Do your due diligence. Make sure you get a truck, inside warranty if you can. Make sure you know the maintenance records. Make sure you upkeep the truck to try to keep it on the road as long as possible. I'm going to talk about the brakes and the tires. Yes, they are not cheap. Remember, you're still running a box truck, you run a large vehicle, a diesel at that. So you got to imagine the tires are not cheap. So you got to make sure you keep that in mind as well. Make sure the vehicle has some good tires when you buy it. Try to keep some good tires on it because tires, if you have an issue, that's going to cost you some money. The brakes the same. If you're not able to do, and most people really don't do this maintenance themselves because these vehicles are so large, you need the equipment to fix them. But you gotta remember brakes on these vehicles gonna run you a nice penny. You gotta replace the brakes. If you gotta go all the way around the truck, that costs money. You gotta keep the truck up to date, for DOT inspection as well. So all these items have to be in good shape to make sure you pass those inspections and are able to keep your vehicle on the road. Another thing that's overlooked, I think, when people are thinking of box trucks, they're like, well, it's smaller, so I better maneuver a lot easy, maybe even have some parking. That's not the case. You still have to pay for these trucks to be parked. No, your neighborhood won't allow you just to park it in the driveway. A lot of people, neighbors will complain, the vehicle is taking up space, or maybe just for you, you'll park it in the driveway and realize like, hey, this thing is huge. It's an inconvenience for me. So now you have to go pay for storage or pay for parking for the vehicle. So keep that in mind. Just because it's a box truck don't mean you're going to be able to just park it anywhere. You will have to probably pay for parking unless you have like a small, maybe like a 10 or 15 foot. And then again, would you want that in your driveway? So with the insurance part, just because you're getting a smaller vehicle or you feel like it's a non-CDL, you're thinking, well, maybe the insurance will be a lot cheaper. That's not the case. You're still going to be running commercial, and they're still going to be charging you a lot because it's a heavy vehicle. So if you were to bump into anyone or any incidents happen, the insurance, they're going to be charging you for that. So the premiums on that is still going to be high. Another thing with the box trucks, unlike the semi trucks and your if you're hot shotting with your dually, so the box truck actually carries the box on the back, unlike your other vehicles where it's detached or whatever, right? In the semi, you might be swapping trailers, so no big deal. But with the box truck, that's not the case. So if anything happens to that box, if you hit a low clearance and you mess up the roof on that box, you're gonna have to pay for it. If any of the floor has any holes or rot spots in it, you got to pay for it. The roll-up door. The roll-up door, that's another big one. A lot of times those roll-up doors, after all that going up and down, they start to wear, start to need to be replaced, and that can cost you some money. You know, unlike if you were driving a semi, you don't have a roll-up door on there. You just swap the trailer out or whatever, unless it's your own trailer. But keep in mind that the box itself does require maintenance as well. So, you know, that's another cost. Next, we're going to go over like your oil changes and fluid checks. So once again, with it being a large vehicle, close to a CDL vehicle, you will have to take these vehicles to like pretty much where you would take your semi truck to. Depending on what kind you get, especially if you get like the international, that will have to go to, you know, a higher end place, a diesel mechanic. Now, with being such a large vehicle, remember that you can't just, you know, pull up to your local dealership and say, hey, change the oil out. You will have to take it to these other places. It's going to charge you more money. And you may have to wait in line longer because you got to remember the semi places that work on diesels, you know, they're working for fleet companies. So they may have a company that comes in and may have 100 trucks, right? So they can afford to take their time and get this one back on the road. But with you, if that's your only vehicle or you only got, like I said, 2 or 3, you can't really wait, but you got to keep that in mind that, hey, if you do take it there, it's going to be it might be a while. It might take a day or two, or a few days to get the oil change, or if something goes out, AC goes out, it may take a week or two. So you got to keep that in mind when running the box truck. So just because, well, I could get into the box truck cheaper, but still the maintenance and everything is going to take time. Time costs money as well. Cost is probably going to be what you're going to be hauling with the vehicle itself. If you're doing a non-CDL, typically you can hold around 10,000 pounds with the truck. That pretty much puts you at that 2601. Y'all leave it down in the comment section below. But put you around that 26,000 pounds where you're pretty much at your max unless you have a CDL. So, you know, if there's loads that are paying more, but it's 11,000 or 12,000 pounds, you're really not allowed to run that because you will be required to have a CDL. They do have box trucks that can hold that, you know, more weight than 10,000 pounds, but once again, you will need a CDL. A good thing about the box trucks is that you can also rent these trucks out. So, you know, if you don't want to buy one, you can rent it. Now, renting, which, you know, of course, you're going to have to rent the truck, but that'll save you on the maintenance, things like that as well, parking and all that. Because if you just rent it, you know, you need to run a few days, you're going to drop it back off. You don't have to worry about maintenance. So that does give you a little leeway with the truck, does help you save a few bucks if you're going to start off renting. And I'll always advise, you know, don't just go out and buy the truck. See if it's going to work first. See if you like doing it. See if you like driving the truck before you actually go out and buy one. If you want to know what I recommend, should you buy a new one or a used one, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. I'll go over a video on that for you as well. I hope these tips really help you, and I will catch you on the next one.